Hey everyone! Ready to dive deep into the world of G20? Released on April 10, 2025, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. On the 10th of April, 2025, the cinematic world held its breath as G20 made its explosive debut on Prime Video. Rarely does a film arrive that feels like a precise mirror to the chaos and challenges of the world outside our screens. And yet G20 managed to capture the pulse of the times in a way few political action thrillers ever do. This wasn't just another fictional crisis tucked inside an international summit. It was a symphony of modern anxiety, bold leadership, digital warfare, and raw, unrelenting survival, all wrapped in sleek direction and anchored by a towering lead performance. From its very first scene, G20 grabs the viewer with ironclad intensity and refuses to let go. The film opens with grandeur, an international summit set in Cape Town, where the world's most powerful leaders have gathered to discuss global economic reform, cybersecurity cooperation, and geopolitical strategy. But beneath the surface of diplomatic handshakes and polished speeches, a storm is brewing. As the camera pans across dignitaries and Secret Service agents, we feel it, tension hiding in plain sight. The setting itself is stunning, a modern architectural marvel overlooking the Atlantic, blending old-world history with cutting-edge surveillance. This is no ordinary backdrop. It becomes a character in itself, towering and intimate, a labyrinth of hallways, security doors, and blind spots. At the center of it all is President Danielle Sutton of the United States, portrayed with extraordinary depth by Viola Davis. Not content to lean into one-dimensional heroism, Davis crafts Sutton as a layered figure, intelligent, principled, empathetic, but weathered by years of service. She's not a caricature of power, she is power with a conscience. A former military commander with scars both physical and emotional, Sutton brings her battlefield instincts to the presidency, and when the summit descends into chaos, those instincts are put to the ultimate test. Without warning, armed militants breach the summit's security. They're not just after headlines, they want to destabilize the global economy. Led by Rutledge, a former intelligence operative turned cyber-terrorist, the group initiates a series of calculated moves. Deepfake broadcasts, encrypted transmissions, and coordinated global attacks unravel in real time. Their plan is built not just on violence, but on narrative manipulation, using digital illusions to force the hand of the world's superpowers. As the compound is locked down and world leaders are taken hostage, President Sutton is separated from her team and forced into survival mode. But this is not a film about brute force, it's about strategic brilliance. Sutton doesn't crash through windows or swing on ropes. She listens, adapts, plans. And when she acts, it's with precision. This approach makes every moment believable and grounded. Davis imbues her with a quiet ferocity, the kind of power that radiates even when still. You see her think, calculate, suffer, and fight back not just physically, but morally. Supporting her is a stellar ensemble. Anthony Anderson plays Derek Sutton, the president's husband, who becomes an emotional anchor amidst the chaos. His presence reminds us that leadership isn't just about public decisions, it's about private costs. Marsai Martin portrays Serena, their daughter, who finds herself inside the summit's secure quarters and becomes an unexpected player in the unfolding standoff. Rather than functioning as a passive damsel in distress, Serena evolves, contributing vital knowledge that changes the game. Their dynamic as a family doesn't just humanize the political stakes, it heightens them. And then there's Rutledge, brought chillingly to life by Anthony Starr. Cold, articulate, and disturbingly rational, Rutledge isn't evil for evil's sake. His motives are disturbingly plausible, rooted in a belief that only chaos can reset a corrupt system. He is a villain born not of madness, but of misplaced idealism and betrayal. What makes his scenes so compelling is the eerie way he connects with Sutton, not as a typical adversary, but as someone who once served the same cause and now sees her as a symbol that must fall. The cinematography in G20 is nothing short of masterful. The camera moves like a shadow, slipping between tight corridors, darting from surveillance monitors to intimate close-ups, maintaining a tension that simmers just beneath every frame. During moments of action, it bursts into controlled frenzy, with choreography that feels both slick and grounded. The explosions aren't just noise, they're narrative punctuation. But some of the most breathtaking visuals are quiet. Reflections in glass, distant helicopters against the setting African sun, moments of eye contact where the fate of nations hangs on a glance. Complementing the visuals is the film's haunting score. Composed with an eye for emotion and pacing, the music evolves with the characters. Tender when needed, thunderous when the screen demands it. There's a recurring motif that plays when Sutton is forced to make impossible decisions. It's subtle, but devastating. A reminder that every order she gives could mean life or death for someone she loves or represents. What elevates G20 from being just a tightly executed thriller to a cultural moment is its relevance. In an age where misinformation moves faster than truth, where power is as much about perception as it is about policy, the film speaks to very real fears. The plot's use of deepfakes and digital blackmail feels not like fiction, but a warning. Its commentary on global cooperation, how fragile alliances can be, how quickly trust can be weaponized, hits hard. But rather than succumb to cynicism, the movie offers a message of resilience. Leadership, it argues, is not about invulnerability, but about clarity under pressure. Another reason the film struck such a chord is the rarity of its central figure. A black female president in a global action thriller is unprecedented. Not a side character, not a symbol, a protagonist with agency, flaws, and command. This representation alone was enough to spark conversations, fan essays, academic commentary, and thousands of tweets. But Davis's performance transcends tokenism. It is earned and unforgettable. Even behind the scenes, G20 became a point of interest. Stories emerged of Davis collaborating on military tactics for authenticity, of the cast undergoing security training to understand their roles more deeply. The set reportedly operated like a real summit compound, with actors encouraged to remain in character even during rehearsals to capture the tension of real-world politics. This commitment shows. Every detail in the film, down to the language of security protocols and the placement of embassy flags, feels carefully researched and placed. Critics were quick to call it a genre definer. Reviewers praised it not just for its entertainment value but for its emotional intelligence. Audiences responded with record streaming numbers, and think pieces emerged about everything from international policy symbolism to the film's take on artificial intelligence. TikTok edits of Sutton's speeches went viral. Political analysts referenced scenes during real-world summits. College professors assigned it in media literacy courses. Few films cut across so many cultural layers, but G20 did. Yet, the film doesn't end in triumph. It ends with questions. Peace is restored, yes, but at great cost. Alliances are shaken. The audience is left to wonder, how close are we, really, to such a future? And what would we do, were we in Sutton's shoes? That lingering unease is what makes the film powerful. It doesn't wrap its message in easy victories. It lingers in your thoughts long after the credits roll. Ultimately, G20 is not a film that asks for passive viewership. It demands engagement, reflection, and conversation. It uses spectacle to reveal truth and uses fiction to illuminate fact. It tells us that leadership is not about who stands at the podium, but about who keeps standing when the podium is gone. It shows us that courage doesn't always look like a battlefield charge. Sometimes, it's a decision made in silence, with no guarantee of survival. And that's what makes G20 extraordinary. In a year crowded with sequels, reboots, and franchises playing it safe, G20 dared to say something new, to imagine a world alarmingly like our own, and to place its fate in the hands of someone who looked different from the usual Hollywood savior. And in doing so, it became not just a must-watch, but a must-discuss, must-debate, must-remember cinematic event. It begins with grandeur. Not explosions or gunfire, those come later, but with something subtler, a rising hum of global anticipation. It's April 10th, 2025, and the eyes of the world are fixed on Cape Town, South Africa. The city, draped in elegance and security detail, is hosting the annual G20 summit, and every nation of significance has gathered to negotiate, discuss, and quietly posture in the corridors of power. There's an air of sophistication on the surface, champagne flutes, handshakes, translator earpieces, but underneath it all lies a tension that no one can name aloud. The summit feels like a calm before a geopolitical storm. And in the middle of this high-stakes gathering is the woman who defines presence, U.S. President Danielle Sutton. She enters the summit floor with the poise of a diplomat but the focus of a general. Played by Viola Davis with formidable restraint, Sutton is not new to tension. A former army officer turned political leader, she's known for navigating minefields, literal and metaphorical. Her arrival is met with cautious admiration and subtle unease. Some leaders respect her. Some fear her. Some simply want her distracted. Traveling with her are her husband, Derek Sutton, and their teenage daughter, Serena. Derek, warm and perceptive, understands his place as both support system and emotional compass for a woman bearing the weight of a superpower. Serena, brilliant and tech-savvy, is restless. She's proud of her mother, but also chafing under the constant scrutiny and security that come with being a first daughter. Serena's relationship with Danielle isn't hostile, but it's not harmonious either. It's complicated, tense, and deeply human. A subtle argument during a family photo op signals unresolved tension and becomes our first glimpse at the film's emotional stakes. This isn't just a film about international diplomacy. It's about a mother fighting to protect both the world and the people she loves most. Elsewhere in the shadows, a different kind of arrival is taking place. Under forged identities and flawless timing, a group of highly trained operatives begins infiltrating the summit infrastructure. They're dressed as custodians, caterers, logistics staff, utterly invisible until they choose not to be. At their head is Rutledge, played with chilling precision by Anthony Starr. He's a ghost from the intelligence world, the kind of man whose existence is denied on paper but whispered about in field reports. He speaks with calm menace and watches like a predator with infinite patience. We don't know much about his motives yet, but it's clear this operation isn't random. It's personal, planned to the second, and designed to collapse a system from within. As summit proceedings begin, the film takes time to establish its geopolitical chessboard. President Sutton meets with allies and adversaries alike. She spars diplomatically with the British PM, exchanges carefully coded warnings with the Russian delegate, and offers a private moment of genuine solidarity to the South African president. These moments are brief but layered with history, tension, and foreshadowing. Every handshake is weighted. Every smile might be a mask. And beneath all the formality, Sutton senses something is off. She's not sure what. Just something. Back at the summit's central tech hub, Serena wanders from her designated family area and gets into places she shouldn't. She hacks a secure screen, just to see if she can, and discovers unusual anomalies in the system's video feed. Strange looping signals. Access logs from non-existent accounts. Her curiosity becomes unease, but when she tries to alert a staffer, she's brushed off. It's a teenage prank, they assume. But it's not. Serena, unknowingly, has stumbled into the first breadcrumb of the coming storm. And then the breach begins. It's executed like clockwork. Communications are severed. External surveillance is shut down. The summit's AI-driven security system is hijacked and reprogrammed from the inside. Delegates are cut off from the outside world. What was moments ago a showcase of global unity turns into a locked-down fortress of fear. Explosions rock the North Wing, small, strategic, meant for control rather than destruction. Panic erupts, but the chaos is swiftly contained by the very team that caused it. The terrorists aren't just well-armed. They're already inside, embedded across the compound. Rutledge appears, calmly addressing the trapped world leaders. No wild threats, no shouting, just chilling certainty. He tells them this isn't about demands. It's about exposure. What comes next will destabilize their nations, but not through force. Through the collapse of trust. Through digital illusions that their own people will believe more than any truth their governments offer. President Sutton, separated from her team during the breach, is forced into tactical mode. Armed only with her instincts and what little comms are left, she moves through the compound like a soldier again. She doesn't have time to be president. She has to be a survivor, a strategist. She quickly deduces the security overrides, memorizes guard rotations, uses maintenance access maps she glanced at earlier. Every move she makes is informed by her past. This isn't a leader caught off guard. This is someone who has trained her entire life for an impossible moment like this. Meanwhile, Derek is taken with other diplomatic families to a secure holding area, where he immediately begins assessing weaknesses in their captors. Calm under pressure, he begins forming a plan of his own. Protect Serena, find Sutton, survive. Serena, ever the curious rebel, manages to slip away again, this time discovering a secure server room where she witnesses something she's not supposed to see. A deepfake video being rendered in real time. It shows her mother issuing military orders that would start a war. It's completely fabricated, but terrifyingly convincing. She records it, but before she can escape, she's spotted. She runs. And now she's not just a rogue teenager, she's a target. Back on the summit floor, Rutledge releases the first of many manipulations. A video broadcast to global news networks showing a falsified conversation between Sutton and other leaders. One that makes it appear they're conspiring to crash the international markets for profit. The video spreads instantly. Markets reel. The world begins to fracture. And the leaders trapped inside can do nothing to stop it. This is not just terrorism. It's narrative warfare. Sutton, now reconnected with a few surviving members of her detail, begins to piece together the scope of the plan. These aren't just hostage takers. They're digital revolutionaries, intent on unraveling reality itself. She learns that the summit's central server hub is the heart of the operation, and whoever controls it controls the truth. Her mission becomes clear: reach it, disable their access, and get the world the real story, before the lies become irreversible. And just when it seems she has a brief window to act, she receives the worst kind of blow. Footage of Serena being taken. Not killed, not hurt, but captured. Used as leverage. Rutledge reaches out to Sutton directly now, voice calm, even courteous. He offers her a choice: surrender, or watch the world fall further into chaos, with her daughter as collateral. Sutton doesn't respond. She doesn't scream. She doesn't break. She simply begins moving with renewed purpose, now fueled by something deeper than diplomacy or strategy. Love, rage, and the refusal to be used as a symbol of defeat. The first half of G20 ends not with a climax, but with a cold breath of silence. The world outside believes Sutton is a traitor. Inside the compound, she is hunted. Her daughter is in enemy hands. Her nation is teetering. But she has knowledge, experience, and resolve. And somewhere, in the fire of that silence, the real war begins. Would you like me to continue with the second half of the plot in this style? From the first moments of G20, the characters don't merely exist. They come alive, breathing authenticity into every line of dialogue, every glance exchanged, and every choice made under pressure. At the heart of it all is President Danielle Sutton, a character whose arc embodies the complex dance of power, vulnerability, and survival. Played by Viola Davis with a calm yet intense ferocity, Sutton is not merely a political figure. She is a study in leadership, sacrifice, and moral conflict. Her performance transcends typical political figures in film. She's not just a symbol of strength, but a fully realized, multifaceted woman. When we first meet Sutton, she is composed, assured, standing tall at the G20 summit, representing the United States. But it quickly becomes evident that beneath this polished exterior lies a woman haunted by past decisions. As the summit's atmosphere shifts from diplomatic cordiality to sudden chaos, Sutton's calm facade cracks, revealing her deepest fears. The responsibility of global leadership, the threat to her family, and the weight of holding fragile peace together. Her evolution is one of internal conflict. She isn't just trying to navigate the unfolding disaster. She is simultaneously grappling with the moral implications of every decision she makes. Every life lost, every diplomatic relationship strained, weighs heavily on her. Viola Davis' performance turns Sutton into someone far more than a political hero. She's not immune to fear or doubt. Instead, She's a reflection of the rawness that true leaders often hide from the world. At her core, Sutton is a mother and a wife before she is a president, and this duality is explored with profound nuance. Her relationship with her family, especially her daughter Serena, reveals the heart of the film. There's a deep emotional complexity in how she juggles her role as the head of a nation while trying to protect the people she loves most. Davis brings this internal struggle to life with quiet moments of vulnerability, especially in scenes with her daughter. Sutton is always in motion, thinking, calculating, reacting. But when it's just her and Serena, the dynamic shifts, and the layers of doubt, guilt, and hope become palpable. As the film progresses, Sutton transforms from a political figure caught in a trap of digital manipulation and warfare into a fierce force of nature. It's a subtle yet striking transformation, one that reflects her growth not just as a leader, but as a woman who finds the will to fight back against insurmountable odds. She may be under attack on all sides, by terrorists, by misinformation, by betrayal, but it's the personal stakes that ignite her resolve. The moment she learns that her daughter Serena has been taken hostage isn't just a turning point in the plot. It's a heartbreaking revelation that propels Sutton into full survival mode. From that moment on, her character's journey becomes a battle to not only reclaim her nation's dignity but also to protect her family. Opposite Davis' quiet strength is Anthony Starr's portrayal of Rutledge, the villain of the story. Rutledge is an enigma, a former intelligence officer turned cyber-terrorist with a chillingly calculated demeanor. Starr's performance as Rutledge is one of calm menace, making him the perfect foil to Sutton's emotional leadership. He isn't evil in the traditional sense. His motivations are grounded in a belief that the current system must collapse for something better to rise in its place. Rutledge isn't out for chaos for its own sake. He believes in the revolution he is instigating. And this belief makes him disturbingly rational. In Rutledge's mind, he's doing the world a favor by destroying everything it holds dear. It's this twisted sense of purpose that makes him so dangerous. Starr's portrayal of Rutledge feels less like a villain and more like a tragic anti-hero. His performance holds a quiet weight. Every word spoken, every gesture, is deliberate, but there's a flicker of something deeper beneath the surface. Regret, maybe, or the cold, hard realization that he can never return to the world he once knew. Rutledge is, in many ways, a mirror to Sutton. Both are leaders, both are driven by deep conviction, but only one believes that the world system must burn in order for something better to emerge. It's the philosophical divide between these two characters that drives the narrative tension, creating a dynamic where neither is purely good nor purely bad. Serena, Sutton's daughter, is another essential character whose journey unfolds with surprising depth. Played by Marsai Martin, Serena is more than just a teenage girl caught in the chaos of global conflict. She is a symbol of the digital age's power. She's tech-savvy, rebellious, and has a knack for uncovering things she shouldn't, which ultimately leads her into the heart of the conspiracy. At the beginning of the film, Serena is distant from her mother, caught between the desire to be independent and the weight of living in the shadow of someone as powerful as President Sutton. However, as the film progresses, Serena's arc mirrors her mother's in a way, from a passive observer to a crucial player in the battle to expose the truth. Her relationship with Sutton evolves throughout the film. At first, it's clear that she resents the restrictions placed on her life because of her mother's role. But as events unfold, Serena becomes an active participant in the fight to take down the terrorists. She steps into the action, no longer just a symbol of innocence but a force in her own right. The pivotal moment comes when Serena, realizing the full scope of Rutledge's manipulation, manages to escape her captors and send key information to her mother. This act of bravery doesn't just prove Serena's capability, it's a quiet but powerful recognition of her own potential and a deepening respect for the world her mother inhabits. Supporting characters like Derek Sutton and the team of security personnel also play critical roles in the unfolding drama. Derek, played by Anthony Anderson, is a key emotional anchor in the film. As the first gentleman, he's often placed in the background, but his quiet strength is just as essential as his wife's. His relationship with Sutton is one of mutual respect, and his desire to protect their family is palpable. While Sutton is racing against time to restore order, Derek is tasked with keeping their family safe, playing a quiet but pivotal role in the emotional stakes of the film. His character also provides a much-needed counterbalance to Sutton's intense determination. He's the calm voice, the heart of reason, in the midst of the storm. In a larger sense, the ensemble cast that surrounds Sutton, military personnel, government officials, and even minor characters, serve to highlight the theme of leadership under pressure. Every person in this story, whether they play a major or minor role, is shaped by the political landscape they inhabit. They make choices that may seem small in the grand scheme but ripple outward, contributing to the larger narrative of global instability. They're not mere props to Sutton's journey. They're reflections of the world she is trying to protect. G20 doesn't just rely on the traditional hero-villain dichotomy. It offers a complex web of characters who are bound by duty, love, and fear. The stakes for each of them are not simply survival. They're about redefining what it means to lead and to protect. The connections between Sutton, Rutledge, Serena, and the supporting characters come together in ways that feel both personal and universal, creating a narrative that resonates beyond just political action. In the end, the strength of G20 lies not in its explosions or high-stakes moments of physical confrontation, but in the emotional arcs of its characters. The performances, especially by Davis, Starr, and Martin, imbue the film with a raw intensity that makes every decision, every sacrifice, and every victory feel earned. These are not just characters in a thriller. They are people whose motivations are as complicated as the world they are trying to navigate. And that's what makes G20 unforgettable. It's not just about the political intrigue, but the human stories that lie at the heart of it. G20 isn't just a thriller about international politics, terrorism, and survival. It's a finely crafted tapestry woven with subtle details, callbacks, and cultural connections that reward sharp-eyed viewers. While the story of President Danielle Sutton's fight to restore global stability after a cyber attack unfolds at the surface, beneath it lies a rich landscape of hidden meanings, foreshadowing, and Easter eggs that deepen the viewing experience. These hidden gems are sprinkled throughout the film, often blending seamlessly with the narrative but offering deeper layers to those who pay attention. From the opening shot, G20 establishes itself as a movie that doesn't just tell a story, but invites viewers to engage with it on a deeper level. The scene in which President Sutton steps off her plane onto the tarmac in Cape Town is charged with symbolism. As she descends the steps, the camera lingers on her silhouette against the vibrant African sky, framing her as a figure both of power and vulnerability. This moment is a direct visual callback to the 1980s iconography of South African political leaders, particularly Nelson Mandela, whose presence looms over the nation as a symbol of resilience and diplomacy. The filmmakers deliberately place Sutton in this frame, a gesture that echoes Mandela's own arrival in Cape Town after his release from prison. It's a subtle but powerful connection, linking Sutton's character arc to themes of liberation, transformation, and the struggle for a better future. Once inside the summit venue, the interplay of light and shadow becomes increasingly important as the story progresses. Early in the film, as the various world leaders arrive, the lighting often casts long, exaggerated shadows, particularly around the character of Rutledge, played by Anthony Starr. These shadowy moments mirror his clandestine and morally ambiguous nature, hinting at the darker agenda beneath his calm, collected exterior. It's a brilliant piece of foreshadowing, subtly setting the tone for the psychological battle that will unfold between him and Sutton. The visuals suggest that even in a place of diplomacy and power, darkness is never far behind. Another early visual cue is the subtle inclusion of G20's recurring motif, reflections. Throughout the film, characters often appear framed in reflective surfaces, mirrors, glass windows, and polished metal surfaces, suggesting the internal conflicts that define them. In particular, President Sutton is often seen in reflective frames, emphasizing her dual nature, the public persona versus the private struggle. This motif reaches its peak in a pivotal scene late in the movie, when Sutton faces herself in a glass window, her reflection fractured by cracks caused by a blast. In that moment, she's confronted with the notion of her own fractured leadership and the struggle to reconcile her personal life with the demands of her role. The cracked reflection mirrors her journey of self-discovery and the emotional toll of the choices she's been forced to make. It's a powerful visual that deepens the narrative and gives viewers an added layer of symbolism to chew on. As the film moves into the central conflict, when the cyber attack begins to unfold, there's a clever piece of foreshadowing involving Serena, Sutton's daughter. Early on, Serena is shown playing a video game in which she navigates a digital landscape, evading virtual enemies. At first, this seems like a harmless moment, just a teenage girl indulging in a game. However, as the plot unfolds, it becomes clear that Serena's skills in this digital world are not just a quirky character trait. They are vital to the story. Her ability to think and react quickly in a virtual environment mirrors the digital warfare that soon consumes the summit. This early foreshadowing shows that the game Serena is playing is more than just a pastime. It's a preparation for the real-world challenges she'll face later on. This subtle setup ties into the larger theme of the digital age and how technology has both the power to liberate and to destroy. The recurring motif of technology's duality is reinforced by the cyber attack itself, with one particularly clever Easter egg appearing in the form of a small detail in the summit's security room. As Rutledge's team infiltrates the security systems, a screen shows a rapid series of codes scrolling across the screen, and for a brief moment, the name Turing flashes across the code. This is a reference to Alan Turing, the mathematician and cryptanalyst who was pivotal in breaking the German Enigma code during World War II. Turing is often seen as a symbol of both genius and persecution, and his inclusion here is a nod to the central role of encryption, secrecy, and the manipulation of information in the modern world. By placing this Easter egg in a moment of crisis, the filmmakers connect the past's technological revolution to the present battle over digital warfare, while also subtly commenting on the relationship between technology and human complexity. It's a small detail, but it's one that will certainly resonate with viewers who appreciate the hidden layers of history embedded in the narrative. The theme of betrayal also runs deep in G20, and one of the most compelling symbols of this is the recurring image of a broken watch. Early in the film, Derek Sutton, President Sutton's husband, is seen wearing a classic watch with a cracked face, a subtle but significant detail that is easy to overlook. The watch is a symbol of both time and loyalty, two themes that are critical to the film. The fractured face of the watch foreshadows the breaking of trust between Derek and his wife, as well as the larger theme of the collapse of systems, both political and personal. Later in the film, as the stakes grow higher, Derek's watch is completely shattered during a confrontation with Rutledge's operatives. The moment is symbolic. Just as time has fractured for him personally, it has also fractured for the world. Time, as a guiding structure, becomes a casualty of the events unfolding at the summit. The broken watch is a visual metaphor that underlines the theme of impermanence and the fragility of human systems, whether political, personal, or technological. Another layer of cultural and historical reference comes through the choice of locations. Throughout the summit, the filmmakers incorporate subtle references to South Africa's complex political history, particularly its struggle against apartheid. In one key scene, President Sutton is shown standing in front of a wall displaying a large mural depicting South Africa's transition from apartheid to democracy. The mural, a striking piece of art that chronicles the country's turbulent past, serves as an anchor for Sutton's own internal struggles. It's not a direct comparison, but the film seems to suggest that, like South Africa, Sutton is in the process of transforming something broken into something better, and the choices she makes will determine whether her country follows a path of renewal or collapse. This visual callback to South Africa's own political history serves to elevate Sutton's journey, tying it to the broader, more universal themes of justice, reconciliation, and national healing. The complexity of G20 also extends to its soundtrack, where cultural references are subtly interwoven into the music. As President Sutton moves through various diplomatic meetings, the soundtrack features African drumming rhythms, occasionally juxtaposed with more traditional orchestral strings. This combination of sounds emphasizes the film's central theme of blending the old with the new, of navigating between the weight of history and the possibilities of the future. The music, much like the visuals, constantly reminds the audience that the global political landscape is a mixture of legacy and innovation, a delicate balance that can either uplift or unravel. There are also a number of subtle callbacks to classic political thrillers that will delight fans of the genre. In one scene, Rutledge's team sets up a digital trap that mimics the chaos scene in The Parallax View, a 1970s political thriller about conspiracies and assassination. This Easter egg is almost a wink to the audience, a reminder. that G20 is building upon a long tradition of films that explore power, deception, and the hidden forces that shape the world. It's a clever nod that fans of political thrillers will catch and appreciate. As the film nears its climax, the layers of symbolism become even more pronounced. One of the final moments in G20 is set against a massive, symbolic sculpture located within the summit's Grand Hall. The sculpture, an abstract representation of unity and fracture, becomes a visual metaphor for the film's central conflict, the struggle between control and chaos, unity and division. This piece of art, which Sutton studies in a quiet moment of reflection, serves as a reminder that the world she is trying to save is both fragile and malleable. The sculpture's broken edges mirror the fissures in global diplomacy that Sutton must navigate, while its form also suggests that through careful rebuilding, something beautiful can emerge from the rubble. In these subtle details, G20 shows its true depth. The references, symbols, and Easter eggs aren't there just to reward attentive viewers. They are essential to the film's narrative architecture. They add layers of meaning to every scene, drawing connections between personal and political struggles, between past and present, between technology and humanity. The filmmakers have created a film that not only tells a thrilling story but invites viewers to look deeper, to see how every element connects to the larger tapestry of global conflict, human resilience, and the quest for truth in a fractured world. Behind the polished surface of G20, a film that captivated audiences with its intense political drama and high-stakes global narrative, lies a treasure trove of bizarre facts, production challenges, and behind-the-scenes stories that are nothing short of fascinating. From unexpected creative choices to challenges that almost halted the film's production, G20 is as much a tale of artistic perseverance as it is of international diplomacy. The film, which appears seamless on screen, hides an array of anecdotes that reveal the complexity and creativity involved in bringing this story to life. One of the most peculiar behind-the-scenes stories comes from the film's ambitious location shoot in Cape Town, South Africa. While the grandeur of the summit settings and the sweeping vistas of the city may seem effortlessly captured on screen, the production team faced immense challenges in making it all look so authentic. The first hurdle came with the Cape Town Convention Center, which was initially slated to serve as the backdrop for many of the high-profile political meetings depicted in the film. While it was an ideal location in terms of visual aesthetics, the logistics of shooting inside a functioning convention center turned out to be far more complicated than anticipated. With ongoing real-world political events occurring in the building during filming, the production team had to work around strict schedules and last-minute interruptions. Security concerns were a constant challenge, with armed guards regularly stationed to ensure that sensitive political events were not accidentally captured by the cameras. In one particularly unusual incident, the crew was forced to pause filming when a group of diplomats arrived unexpectedly, prompting the cast and crew to quickly dismantle equipment and move out of sight in order to maintain the secrecy of certain scenes. The tension in the air was palpable, with everyone unsure if the shoot would be delayed for days, or if they would be given the green light to continue. In the end, the situation was resolved within hours, but the anxiety of that moment was a constant reminder of how unpredictable and delicate the production was. In addition to the logistical challenges, the film's depiction of world leaders engaged in tense diplomatic discussions required a level of historical accuracy that added another layer of complexity to the process. The filmmakers spent months consulting with political experts and diplomats to ensure that the portrayal of these high-level negotiations felt grounded and true to life. However, this pursuit of authenticity led to an unexpected complication. One of the film's central sequences, where President Sutton, played by Viola Davis, navigates an escalating international crisis, was so realistic that it almost triggered a diplomatic incident. The scene, in which Sutton negotiates with an unnamed world leader to prevent an imminent cyber attack, was filmed with great attention to detail, right down to the types of language used in the dialogue. The filmmakers consulted with real-life political advisors to ensure that the way the characters spoke, even the nuances of their diplomatic language, reflected actual high-stakes negotiations. Unbeknownst to the filmmakers, one of the lines in the script mirrored a phrase used by a real-world politician just weeks before filming. When the dialogue hit the press, rumors began to swirl that the filmmakers had predicted a diplomatic crisis, and certain governments involved expressed concern that the scene could be interpreted as political commentary. The filmmakers had to issue a statement clarifying that the line was purely fictional, but the controversy added an extra layer of excitement to an already intense production. The creative team also faced unique challenges when it came to designing the technology that plays such a pivotal role in the plot. The film's cyber attacks and digital warfare were designed to look as realistic as possible, and this required cutting-edge visual effects. But there was one problem. No one on the crew knew exactly how to make a cyber attack look believable on screen without resorting to typical movie clichés. The solution came from a rather unlikely source: the film's visual effects supervisor, who happened to be a former hacker. Drawing from his own experiences in the world of cybersecurity, he created a set of entirely new visual language for depicting cyber warfare. Instead of using generic glowing grids or abstract glitch effects, the crew worked tirelessly to develop sequences where the digital world looked more organic, even alien. The effect was subtle but added an eerie realism to the cyber attacks. Viewers may not immediately recognize the new visual language, but for those familiar with the inner workings of the internet and cyberterrorism, it's a nod to the reality of modern warfare that's more terrifying than anything Hollywood has previously attempted. The process of casting the film also had its share of intriguing twists. While the role of President Danielle Sutton was specifically written with Viola Davis in mind, there was a unique piece of casting serendipity that occurred with Anthony Starr's portrayal of Rutledge. Originally, the role of Rutledge was designed for a much older, more established actor, someone whose physicality could exude authority and menace. However, during the audition process, Starr's audition tape arrived almost by accident. The producers were initially skeptical, as Starr was not the traditional choice for the role. His appearance, while striking, didn't match the archetypal villain the filmmakers had envisioned. But after watching his audition, which was raw, emotionally charged, and layered with depth, the producers quickly realized that Starr was perfect for the part. The film's creative team then rewrote the character to make him younger and more dynamic, tapping into Starr's ability to portray an antagonist who wasn't just a villain, but a man who genuinely believed in the revolution he was starting. It was a perfect example of how the casting process can take an unexpected turn and lead to a performance that elevates the entire narrative. The performances of the cast were also marked by a surprising amount of improvisation. Viola Davis, who is known for her commanding presence and intense emotional range, found herself collaborating deeply with the film's director to tweak the script in key scenes. One of the most memorable moments came when the final confrontation between Sutton and Rutledge was being rehearsed. The scene was initially written to be a standard face-off between two opponents with differing ideologies. However, during rehearsals, Davis and Starr began to improvise their dialogue, pushing the scene in a direction that felt more personal and less confrontational. Davis, in particular, pushed for a more vulnerable moment, where Sutton reflects on her role as a mother before engaging with Rutledge. This subtle shift not only deepened the emotional weight of the scene, but also brought out a new layer of complexity in their characters. The director, impressed by their chemistry, allowed the actors to continue improvising, resulting in a scene that's raw and intimate in a way the script hadn't originally anticipated. Another fascinating fact involves the film's score, which was composed by renowned musician Hans Zimmer. Zimmer, known for his ability to blend orchestral music with electronic elements, took an unusual approach to creating the soundtrack for G20. In order to capture the urgency of the digital age and the constant feeling of surveillance, Zimmer worked closely with the sound department to layer his compositions with subtle electronic hums and digital distortions. But there was one particularly strange and unexpected challenge during the score's creation. Zimmer insisted that all of the music be recorded live, even though much of the soundtrack required electronic elements. As a result, the musicians had to perform with live instruments while simultaneously interacting with digital effects in real time. This created a truly unique sound, a fusion of organic and synthetic, mirroring the tension between human intuition and machine-driven technology that is central to the film's plot. G20 also became known for a particularly controversial moment involving its portrayal of the media. In one of the film's pivotal scenes, Sutton's team is shown managing a media blackout to control the flow of information about the cyber attack. While the film makes it clear that this action is part of a broader strategy to avoid widespread panic, the media manipulation subplot raised eyebrows among critics and audiences alike. Some saw it as a direct commentary on real-world issues of press freedom and the government's ability to control information, especially in times of crisis. Others felt that it was a thinly veiled critique of the media's role in shaping public perception. The controversy surrounding this portrayal sparked heated debates online, with some accusing the film of being too overtly political, while others praised it for addressing such complex issues head-on. Perhaps one of the strangest facts about G20 is the film's near-miss with a literal disaster. During the filming of one of the more intense action sequences, a critical scene that involved a cyber-attack taking down the power grid, a real-world cyber-attack occurred in the nearby vicinity of the production. The crew was forced to pause filming while they confirmed that the attack was unrelated to their work. The eerie coincidence had the cast and crew on edge, with several of the actors joking that their characters' fate had been predicted by the events of the shoot. In the end, G20 became more than just a political thriller. It's a fascinating story of creativity, resilience, and unexpected moments. From the unanticipated casting decisions to the controversies surrounding its portrayal of the media, every element of the film's creation adds to its layered complexity. Behind the action, drama, and high-stakes diplomacy, there's a production journey that's as unpredictable and intriguing as the story itself. G20 is a film that packs a punch not only with its political narrative but also through a series of powerful, emotionally charged moments that resonate long after the credits roll. These key scenes, whether they be moments of high tension, vulnerable reflection, or explosive confrontation, serve as the emotional backbone of the movie. They elevate the film from a typical political thriller to something far more profound, embedding deep themes and offering reflections on power, responsibility, and the human cost of leadership. As we explore these moments, we delve into their significance, what makes them so impactful, and how they shape the overall experience of the film. One of the most striking moments in G20 occurs early in the film, when President Danielle Sutton, played with such quiet strength by Viola Davis, delivers an impassioned speech to the gathered leaders at the summit. At this point in the story, the stakes are still unfolding, and the characters are being introduced to the audience, but the way in which this speech is framed is vital to understanding the emotional undercurrents that will define the rest of the film. What makes this scene particularly compelling is not just the content of the speech, but the way in which it is delivered. Sutton's words, steeped in the urgency of the political crisis at hand, are underscored by her own personal turmoil. She is not just speaking as a leader but as a woman who feels the immense weight of the choices she must make, not only for her country but for her family and her sense of self. The way the camera lingers on Sutton's face during this moment is telling. The filmmakers wisely allow the audience to see her internal struggle play out through Davis's subtle expressions, showcasing her vulnerability amidst the public-facing image of strength. Sutton's speech is essentially about unity in the face of adversity, but the layered tension in her face suggests that unity itself may be a fleeting hope, rather than an attainable goal. The cinematic framing here makes it clear. This is a president caught in a complex dance between political necessity and personal sacrifice. This scene serves as the emotional overture of the film, setting the tone for everything that follows. It captures the essence of the movie's central conflict, blending public duty with the personal cost of leadership, and it plants the seed for the more intense moments that will later unfold. Another key scene that holds immense emotional weight occurs when Sutton is confronted with the consequences of her decision to pursue the cyber-attack investigation, risking her political career. It's a moment of great vulnerability for her character, and the dialogue exchanged is sharp and raw. Rutledge, Anthony Starr, who has been secretly manipulating events from behind the scenes, uses this moment to expose Sutton's deepest fears, telling her that her idealistic view of diplomacy and global unity is naive. Rutledge's words are calculated and designed to shake her to her core, and the way Davis plays the scene is nothing short of masterful. Her hesitation, the subtle break in her composure, speaks volumes about the toll of her responsibilities. The tension between these two characters, the embodiment of the political battle and the personal one, reaches a boiling point, and the exchange becomes more than just an intellectual debate. It's a battle for the soul of the film itself. What makes this scene even more compelling is the backdrop against which it unfolds. In contrast to the intense confrontation in the summit's dark, minimalistic security room, the lighting and the setting reflect the emotional weight of the scene. There's a stark contrast between the cold, sterile environment of the security room and the warm, comforting glow of the sun setting outside. The setting mirrors Sutton's inner conflict, The cold, logical side of diplomacy versus the warmth of the human side that she's constantly trying to preserve. The juxtaposition between light and dark, between personal warmth and political ice, makes this scene a hauntingly emotional moment in the film, which underscores the complex nature of leadership. As the film builds towards its climax, one of the most impactful moments comes when Sutton makes a decision that could change the fate of the world. The tension has been building steadily, and the decision she faces isn't just about how to deal with the cyber attack. It's about the kind of leader she will become. The weight of her choices, especially in a world where every action has global ramifications, is brought home when she decides to risk everything to stop the cyber attack, even if it means sacrificing her political career and, perhaps, her personal safety. The tension in the moment is palpable. Sutton's internal struggle is mirrored in the direction, where every beat of silence feels heavy with expectation. What makes this moment particularly moving is how the film slowly builds it up without excessive fanfare. There's no swelling music or dramatic close-ups. Instead, the decision is made in an understated, almost contemplative way. It's a moment of sheer willpower. Sutton doesn't need to speak. Her face says everything. The film's ability to communicate such profound emotions with such restraint is one of the reasons it hits so hard. The pacing here allows the audience to sit with the decision, to feel the consequences of it, both for Sutton as an individual and for the world at large. The final confrontation between Sutton and Rutledge is undoubtedly the film's most gripping and visually intense scene. By this point, the stakes have reached their highest point, and everything the audience has been led to expect comes crashing to a head. The location, an abandoned government facility, dark and foreboding, provides the perfect backdrop for the battle between these two characters. It's a high-stakes showdown not only because of the physical danger they face, but because it encapsulates everything that G20 has been building toward. The clash of ideologies, the consequences of leadership, and the personal sacrifices each character has made in their quest for power. What makes this final confrontation so impactful is how the filmmakers subvert expectations. Typically, in action films, these kinds of moments are filled with frantic energy, fast-paced editing, and explosive confrontations. G20 takes a different approach. The tension builds through silence, close-ups, and calculated moves. Each word spoken is deliberate. As the two characters face off, it's not just their physical presence that fills the screen. It's their emotional weight, their ideologies clashing in a battle of wills. The camera lingers on Davis and Starr, allowing the audience to witness the internal struggle within each of them, especially in the final moments when they each make their choices. There's a brief moment of eye contact between Sutton and Rutledge, one that holds an immense amount of meaning. It's a moment of recognition, of mutual understanding, perhaps not of agreement, but of acknowledgement that both characters have sacrificed something essential in their pursuit of what they believe is right. The film's use of sound also plays a key role in intensifying the emotional power of this confrontation. The sound design here is minimalistic, with the muffled sounds of breathing and the distant hum of technology filling the air. This serves to heighten the sense of isolation these characters feel. Despite the grand scale of the global events they are embroiled in, this final confrontation is deeply personal. It's not about the fate of the world alone. It's about their internal battles and the cost of their decisions. The aftermath of this confrontation, when the dust settles and Sutton walks away from the wreckage of her decisions, is equally powerful. There's no neat resolution, no cinematic wrap-up. Instead, the camera lingers on Sutton as she stands alone in the wrecked facility, physically and emotionally exhausted. The choice she made to prioritize the greater good has come at a tremendous cost, but it's clear that, in this moment, she has earned her place in history, not as a flawless leader, but as one who made difficult, painful choices for the sake of others. In many ways, these key moments reflect the thematic core of G20. The constant tension between personal morality and public duty, the delicate balance of power, and the recognition that every decision, no matter how noble, comes with a cost. The film's ability to present these pivotal moments with such emotional depth makes it more than just a political thriller. It becomes an exploration of what it means to lead in a fractured world, where every action, every choice, can reverberate across the globe. The audience's reaction to these key moments is equally telling. The film has sparked conversations about the nature of power and the human cost of leadership, with many viewers resonating deeply with the emotional journey of President Sutton. Some have praised the film for its realistic portrayal of the pressures faced by world leaders, while others have found the moments of vulnerability shown by Sutton to be among the most compelling parts of the story. These emotional beats, paired with the tension of the plot, create an experience that is not just intellectually engaging but profoundly emotional. Through the careful crafting of these key scenes, G20 invites its audience to reflect on the complexities of leadership and the often painful reality of having to make choices that affect not only a nation but the entire world. Ultimately, these pivotal moments define the emotional arc of the film, ensuring that it leaves a lasting impact on its audience long after the final credits roll. The production of G20 is a masterclass in blending technical innovation with artistic vision. While the final product appears to unfold effortlessly on screen, it is the countless behind-the-scenes challenges, creative breakthroughs, and groundbreaking techniques that have brought this film to life in such a remarkable way. From its visually arresting set design to its seamless blend of practical effects and digital technology, G20 is a technical achievement that pushes the boundaries of what's possible in modern cinema. One of the film's most striking technical features is its ability to seamlessly merge real-world settings with fictional narratives, creating a world that feels lived-in yet elevated by the tension of the global events at its core. The filmmakers were determined to create a sense of realism in the film, especially in the way the political environments and world-changing crises were depicted. The result is a film that feels very much of our time, yet also removed from it. A delicate balancing act achieved through meticulous production design and innovative filming techniques. Perhaps one of the most notable creative breakthroughs occurred in the film's design of the digital war sequences. These segments, which depict high-tech cyber attacks on a global scale, had to reflect the complexity and scale of real-world cyber warfare while also keeping the audience engaged emotionally. The film's visual effects team, led by an award-winning supervisor known for his work in blending practical and digital effects, faced the enormous challenge of depicting something as abstract and intangible as a cyber attack. The idea of creating a sequence that could convey the invisible, yet catastrophic, nature of such an event was something no filmmaker had fully tackled before. To address this, the creative team invented an entirely new visual language for these sequences, what they dubbed cyberrealism. Rather than relying on standard visual clichés of glowing grids and abstract data streams, the team designed cyber attacks to unfold in ways that felt grounded in the real world. These attacks weren't just flashes of light or digital bursts. They were presented as subtle disruptions in the fabric of the environment itself. Screens began to flicker, electronic devices buzzed in disarray, and large-scale monitors fractured, warping the room into chaos. The visual effect here wasn't about abstract designs or complex geometric patterns. It was about showing how technology's grip on the world can fracture reality itself. This approach allowed the filmmakers to convey the immense impact of cyberterrorism in a way that felt both immediate and terrifying, enhancing the emotional weight of the narrative. The visual effects team took their cue from the film's visual tone and decided that they would not overwhelm the audience with excessive flashiness. Instead, they wanted to ensure that each cyber sequence was balanced by a grounded, real-world event, each action taken by the protagonists counterbalanced by an invisible, creeping attack on infrastructure. For example, one pivotal scene shows the protagonists walking into a high-tech facility as the power grid is slowly disrupted, but the scene is devoid of overblown visuals. Instead, the visual disturbance is more subtle. Flickering lights, screens that glitch in and out, a faint hum of electricity failing to sustain itself. This subtlety creates an underlying sense of unease, pulling the audience into a world where every move is fraught with risk. This balance between realism and futuristic technology is carried through the entire film. The filmmakers chose to build many of the film's interiors, such as the secure government facility where the final showdown takes place, on set rather than relying heavily on digital effects. The decision was partly born from a desire to capture the tactile nature of the space, the cold metallic walls, the sharp angles, the sterile environment that symbolizes the political machinery behind the global summit. Building these spaces on actual sets rather than simply creating them in post-production allowed the actors to interact with their environment more naturally. This tactile quality lends the film a realism that is often lacking in more digital-heavy productions, making every scene feel grounded in the tangible world. The decision to shoot much of the film on location in Cape Town, South Africa, was also a defining element in creating this sense of realism. Cape Town's urban landscape, its skyscrapers, its wide streets, its soaring mountains in the distance, provided an incredible backdrop for the global summit meetings depicted in the film. While many films might have opted to use green screens or matte paintings to create these expansive cityscapes, the filmmakers made the deliberate choice to shoot entirely on location, bringing a sense of authenticity and scale to every shot. The film's use of real-world locations also helped to establish the feeling that these global leaders were not merely isolated in a fabricated world, but were grounded in the real, living world, an important narrative choice given the film's themes of power and responsibility. A particularly fascinating anecdote from the production process came during the shooting of one of the film's most visually arresting scenes, when the cyber attack begins to take down the global financial system. The scene required the collaboration of multiple departments, including visual effects, sound design, and lighting, to create a sense of escalating chaos as the world teeters on the brink of disaster. As the cast and crew filmed the sequence, something truly unexpected occurred. A massive storm swept through the region, knocking out power in much of Cape Town. For a few hours, the set was plunged into total darkness, and the crew had to halt production. While this might have been an unwelcome interruption for most productions, the filmmakers saw it as an opportunity to add a level of realism to the scene. When the power returned, the filmmakers chose to incorporate the lingering effects of the storm into the sequence. The darkened streets, the flickering lights, and the sense of powerlessness in the aftermath of the storm were woven into the cyber attack narrative. This unplanned event ended up becoming a defining moment of the film, where nature and technology intersected in a way that reinforced the film's themes of instability and vulnerability. The film's sound design also plays a key role in its technical achievements. From the beginning, the sound team focused on making the audience feel as though they were living inside the technological and political maelstrom depicted on screen. The movie is filled with ambient noise, the low hum of servers running, the faint clicks of keyboards being typed, the ever-present buzz of drones in the distance. These sounds don't simply serve as background noise but actively contribute to the atmosphere of unease. The sound design is layered in such a way that it's almost as if the world itself is constantly on the edge of collapse. In one of the film's pivotal moments, as President Sutton debates whether to launch a counterattack against the cyber-terrorists, the sound of a distant helicopter seems to drown out everything else, reinforcing her sense of being trapped, both politically and physically. Another fascinating aspect of the film's production was the creative use of lighting. In many scenes, particularly during moments of high tension or introspection, the filmmakers used lighting not only as a way to illuminate the environment but also as a narrative device. For example, in several key moments, the lighting shifts subtly to represent the mental and emotional states of the characters. During a climactic scene where Sutton makes a difficult decision regarding the fate of the summit, the lighting goes from a bright, sharp white to a dim, muted yellow, reflecting the inner turmoil she feels. This seemingly minor change in the lighting, paired with her performance, deepens the emotional resonance of the moment, allowing the audience to experience her internal struggle viscerally. The filmmakers also made innovative use of practical effects in the action sequences, creating a sense of grounded realism in scenes that might otherwise feel overly stylized. For instance, during a tense pursuit through the hallways of a government building, the team used a combination of stunt work, practical explosions, and precise camera movements to create a sequence that was physically intense without relying heavily on CGI. The filmmakers focused on capturing the raw, visceral experience of such an action scene, down to the dust kicked up by a burst of gunfire or the panic in a character's face as they race for safety. In the realm of character performance, the technical achievements also stand out. The way the actors were filmed during moments of high emotion is key to the film's emotional impact. The filmmakers used close-ups in a way that allows the audience to feel the characters' internal struggles without distracting from the dialogue. The actors' performances were captured with such intimate detail that the slightest shift in facial expression or breath conveys a world of emotion. This immersive filmmaking technique allows the audience to enter the world of the characters, making their decisions, conflicts, and relationships feel personal and immediate. In the end, G20 is not just a film about politics and power. It's a technological and artistic achievement that elevates the genre to new heights. The seamless integration of practical effects, groundbreaking visual techniques, and intimate, Character-driven storytelling creates an experience that is not only visually stunning but also narratively complex. The technical innovations brought into play throughout the production, from sound design to lighting to the groundbreaking cyber attacks, serve the story rather than distract from it. Every creative decision, every technical achievement, and every hurdle faced by the production team ultimately contributes to making G20 a film that feels both timely and timeless. It's a testament to the power of collaboration between the various departments, each of which brought their expertise to the table to create a film that is as innovative as it is emotionally resonant. G20 is more than just a thrilling political drama or an exploration of global crises. At its core, the film is a sophisticated commentary on the human condition, the complexities of leadership, and the delicate balance between personal and public responsibilities. As the narrative unfolds, viewers are drawn into a world where power, politics, and personal sacrifice intersect, revealing deeper messages about the nature of authority, the ethical quandaries of leadership, and the societal structures that influence every decision made by those in positions of power. This rich tapestry of themes and symbolism provides not only a gripping cinematic experience but also a mirror to the real-world challenges and moral dilemmas facing modern society. From the very beginning, the film establishes a strong central theme: the tension between individual morality and political duty. This theme is embodied most poignantly in the character of President Danielle Sutton, a woman who must navigate the treacherous waters of international diplomacy while confronting her own ethical beliefs. Throughout the film, Sutton faces decision after decision that forces her to choose between doing what is morally right on a personal level and what is politically expedient for the world at large. In one of the film's most powerful moments, Sutton is faced with a choice between exposing the truth behind a cyber attack, which would not only destroy her political career but also destabilize global relations, or staying silent and allowing the attack's perpetrators to go free in order to preserve political order. This internal struggle is not just a personal dilemma for Sutton. It serves as a larger metaphor for the sacrifices made by anyone in power. The weight of leadership often demands that individuals sacrifice their personal beliefs for the greater good, even if that greater good comes at a great cost. In many ways, the film mirrors the real-world experience of world leaders, who are often faced with choices that force them to balance moral integrity with the demands of the office. The tension between these two forces, personal morality versus public duty, runs throughout the entire film, serving as the backbone of the narrative and providing the emotional weight behind many of the film's pivotal moments. The theme of power is another dominant force in G20, one that is explored not just through the political landscape but also through the interpersonal relationships between the film's central characters. The narrative continuously interrogates the nature of power, what it means to hold it, how it can be manipulated, and what happens when that power is abused. The character of Rutledge, played with chilling precision by Anthony Starr, embodies the darker side of power. As a behind-the-scenes manipulator, Rutledge understands the intricacies of global politics better than most, and his actions throughout the film are designed to highlight the lengths some will go to in order to seize and maintain power. His character serves as a stark contrast to Sutton's, with his willingness to exploit human vulnerability and manipulate the truth for his own gain serving as a critique of the corrupting influence of power. Rutledge's manipulation of global events is a direct reflection of the film's exploration of systemic corruption and the often unseen forces that shape the decisions of world leaders. This idea is reinforced in several scenes where the true mechanics of power are revealed, scenes where decisions are made not in the public eye but behind closed doors, in shadowy backrooms where alliances are forged and broken. The way Rutledge operates, quietly pulling strings while remaining in the shadows, speaks to the broader societal commentary about the hidden hands that influence global events. The film suggests that in a world driven by power, the most dangerous figures are not always the ones in the spotlight but those who work in the margins, shaping decisions from behind the scenes. Symbolism plays a crucial role in amplifying the film's central themes, and G20 is rich with visual metaphors that deepen the viewer's understanding of the narrative. One of the most striking symbols in the film is the recurring motif of the fractured mirror, which appears in several key moments, particularly when Sutton is confronted with her most difficult choices. The mirror is used to symbolize the fragmentation of her identity as she grapples with the dualities of her public and private self. Each time Sutton faces a moral dilemma, she is shown in the reflection of a cracked mirror, visually representing the breaking of her idealistic view of leadership and the painful realization that her role as president is inextricably linked to compromise. The fractured mirror, therefore, serves as a powerful metaphor for the personal cost of holding power, highlighting how those in leadership positions often face a loss of self in the pursuit of larger, more abstract ideals. Another key symbol is the recurring image of the labyrinth, which is used both literally and figuratively throughout the film. The labyrinth represents the complexity and entanglement of global politics, where decisions are not simple and every path seems to lead to more questions than answers. The film's protagonists are constantly navigating this maze, trying to find a way out, often with little more than their wits to guide them. This metaphor is most evident in the film's final act, when Sutton must navigate a literal labyrinth in the government facility to confront Rutledge. The physical maze mirrors the mental and emotional labyrinth she has been maneuvering through since the beginning of the film, where every decision she has made has been fraught with uncertainty and danger. The labyrinth also represents the broader theme of entrapment. Throughout the film, characters, particularly Sutton, feel trapped by their circumstances. Sutton is not just trapped in a geopolitical crisis. She is trapped by the expectations placed on her as a leader, as a woman in power, and as a mother trying to protect her family while also serving the world. This feeling of entrapment is visually represented by the labyrinth's twisting corridors, which seem to close in on the characters, pushing them further into a corner. As Sutton makes her final, fateful decision in the maze, it becomes clear that she has finally reached a crossroads. Her only way out is to confront the very system that has kept her locked in. The film also takes on the theme of global interconnectedness, underscoring the idea that no decision, no matter how seemingly insignificant, exists in a vacuum. This idea is highlighted not only through the political stakes of the narrative but also through the intricate web of relationships between characters. Each character's actions reverberate across the global stage, and the consequences of their choices echo far beyond their immediate surroundings. This interconnectedness is further emphasized through the visual motifs of networks and connections, often seen in the form of lines or cables that stretch across the screen, linking individuals, events, and decisions in ways that suggest the fragility and complexity of the world we live in. The film also functions as a commentary on the fragility of global systems and the volatility of the modern world. In G20, we see how quickly the balance of power can shift, how one cyber attack can have global ramifications, and how a single leader's decision can tip the scales toward either peace or destruction. This sense of fragility is reflected not only in the film's plot but also in its visual aesthetic. The world portrayed in the film is one that constantly teeters on the edge of collapse, where even the most stable systems can break down in an instant. The film's portrayal of technology as both a tool for progress and a harbinger of destruction speaks directly to contemporary fears about our increasing dependence on technology and the dangers it poses. On a broader level, G20 can be seen as a reflection of contemporary societal anxieties about the role of technology, power, and governance in our lives. The film doesn't shy away from exploring the darker side of technological advancement, particularly in the form of cyber warfare. The cyber attacks in the film are not just plot devices. They are symbols of the ways in which technology has come to dominate our lives, often with little regard for the personal and ethical consequences. The digital warfare in G20 mirrors real-world fears about the vulnerability of critical systems and the potential for technology to be used as a weapon, not just a tool. Ultimately, G20 is a film that raises more questions than it answers. It challenges the audience to reflect on the true cost of leadership, the complexity of global politics, and the sacrifices that come with holding power. Through its rich use of symbolism, layered themes, and careful social commentary, the film offers a window into a world that is at once familiar and unsettling. By exploring the fine line between personal morality and political duty, the movie paints a complex portrait of a world in flux, one in which the decisions of a few can shape the fate of the many. In doing so, it becomes a poignant meditation on the very nature of power and the responsibility that comes with it. In the world of G20, visual storytelling takes center stage as a key driver of both narrative and emotional depth. Every frame, every shot, and every stylistic decision is meticulously crafted to reflect the core themes of the film, from the tension between global power structures to the internal struggles of its characters. The director's unique vision permeates every aspect of the visual design, blending cutting-edge cinematography with a deep understanding of how to communicate character emotions, tone, and world-building through imagery alone. From the sweeping landscapes of international summits to the claustrophobic close-ups of key characters, G20 uses its visuals to convey not only plot but also the subtext of the narrative. One of the standout features of G20 is its striking visual style, which is achieved through a combination of cinematography, lighting, and framing. The film's color palette is integral to its storytelling, with each color choice enhancing the mood of the scene or reflecting a character's emotional state. For instance, during moments of political tension or crisis, the film often bathes its scenes in cold blues and steel grays, mirroring the icy detachment of international diplomacy and the sterile, impersonal nature of government bureaucracy. These cool tones emphasize the clinical, almost mechanical nature of political decision-making, where human emotions are often subjugated to larger, more abstract forces. However, as the film delves deeper into its characters' internal struggles, the color palette shifts. During key emotional moments, such as President Sutton's inner conflict over the global summit, warmer hues of orange and gold come into play, symbolizing her growing connection to her humanity and the weight of the decisions she faces. The use of these colors subtly signals to the audience that Sutton is beginning to reconcile the cold political world she inhabits with her personal sense of moral duty. The transition from cool to warm tones becomes a visual metaphor for the evolution of her character, moving from detachment to emotional engagement. Cinematography plays a crucial role in defining the film's atmosphere. The director employs wide, sweeping shots to establish the grandeur and scale of the political world that Sutton must navigate. These shots capture the vastness of international summits, the sprawling cities where critical decisions are made, and the monumental infrastructure that supports global systems of power. The deliberate use of wide angles helps communicate the idea that the world of politics is vast, intricate, and interconnected, each country, each leader, and each decision a part of a much larger system. These panoramic shots are often juxtaposed with intimate close-ups of characters, drawing a stark contrast between the global stage and the individual decisions that drive the narrative. This visual juxtaposition creates a powerful tension, emphasizing the weight of personal actions within a world that feels overwhelmingly large. One of the most powerful techniques employed throughout the film is the use of tight framing and confined spaces, especially during moments of personal conflict. During scenes where characters are forced to make impossible choices, particularly Sutton, the camera often lingers on their faces, creating a sense of isolation and internal struggle. This technique serves to remind the audience that despite the grand political backdrop, the characters are still individuals, burdened by their own personal dilemmas. By focusing on the characters' expressions, the cinematography allows the audience to feel the emotional weight of their decisions, making the political stakes deeply personal. This is particularly evident during the scenes where Sutton is forced to choose between preserving the stability of the global system or taking a moral stand, where the director's use of tight close-ups forces us to experience her internal conflict in real time. The editing in G20 is equally purposeful, with a deliberate pace that mirrors the tension of the unfolding narrative. The film's editing rhythm shifts depending on the emotional tone of the scene. During moments of action or high-stakes tension, such as cyberattacks or confrontational political showdowns, the editing becomes rapid and fragmented, with quick cuts that heighten the sense of urgency and chaos. This fast-paced editing mimics the relentless speed of global events, where decisions are made in the blink of an eye, and the consequences unfold with a sense of uncontrollable momentum. In contrast, during more reflective or introspective moments, the editing slows down, allowing the viewer to linger on characters' faces and environments. This slower pacing encourages a deeper emotional connection, allowing us to absorb the weight of the characters' struggles and the gravity of their choices. One particularly notable scene features Sutton alone in a dimly lit room, contemplating her next move as the fate of the summit hangs in the balance. The slow editing and long pauses between cuts heighten the sense of isolation and give us a glimpse into her internal process, as she weighs the implications of her decisions. The deliberate pace of this scene contrasts sharply with the rapid-fire political maneuvering scene earlier in the film, emphasizing the personal nature of her dilemma. Sound design and music play a pivotal role in shaping the atmosphere of G20, enhancing the emotional and psychological impact of the film's visuals. The sound design is subtle yet effective, crafting an auditory landscape that mirrors the film's themes of tension, instability, and global interconnection. The sound of distant drone flights, the faint hum of servers and computers, and the soft buzz of electronic devices create a constant undercurrent of technological unease. These sounds are pervasive, never fully absent from the background, subtly reinforcing the idea that technology is both omnipresent and potentially dangerous. One of the most striking aspects of the sound design is the way it reflects the growing sense of crisis in the film. As the cyberattacks begin to unravel global systems, the soundscape shifts. The once subtle hum of technology becomes louder and more chaotic, filling the auditory space with a sense of impending doom. The use of low-frequency rumbling and dissonant tones in these scenes creates a feeling of tension that mirrors the escalating stakes of the plot. At the same time, quieter, more intimate moments, such as when Sutton is alone with her thoughts, are accompanied by more subdued sound, allowing the viewer to focus on the emotional core of the character's journey. The contrast between these different soundscapes amplifies the sense of emotional and political dissonance, driving home the tension between global instability and personal sacrifice. The film's music, composed by an award-winning film scorer, is equally integral to its emotional resonance. The score weaves seamlessly with the sound design, blending orchestral arrangements with electronic textures to underscore the fusion of human emotion and technological power that defines G20. In the film's most intense moments, the music swells to mirror the action, creating an overwhelming sense of urgency and danger. During the cyberattack sequences, the score takes on a digital quality, with staccato, glitchy rhythms that reflect the high-tech nature of the threats facing the characters. These elements are paired with a low, brooding string section that adds a sense of gravitas and dread to the narrative. Conversely, during quieter, more introspective moments, the music softens, allowing for more delicate, piano-driven melodies that underscore the personal stakes of the character's decisions. One of the most memorable uses of music comes during the climactic scene where Sutton must decide the fate of the global summit. As the music builds to a crescendo, the tension in the score mirrors the emotional and moral weight of her choice, guiding the audience through her internal struggle. The composer's use of music to underscore key moments in the film adds another layer of depth, heightening the emotional impact of the narrative and immersing the viewer in the character's journey. The director's stylistic choices are evident in every aspect of G20, from the cinematography to the music to the pacing. Throughout the film, there is a deliberate focus on minimalism, both in terms of visual composition and narrative structure. The director often frames scenes in such a way that the characters are placed within vast, empty spaces, emphasizing their isolation in a world that feels both large and impersonal. This minimalist approach serves to underline the themes of power, isolation, and decision-making, suggesting that in the grand scheme of global politics, individual voices can easily be drowned out. At the same time, the director also employs moments of extreme visual intensity, using close-ups and tightly framed shots to highlight key emotional beats. This contrast between wide, expansive shots and intimate, claustrophobic close-ups reflects the duality at the heart of G20, the tension between global systems of power and the personal stakes faced by the individuals caught within them. The director's ability to seamlessly shift between these visual extremes enhances the film's emotional range, allowing for moments of both grandeur and intimacy. Another stylistic choice that stands out is the film's use of reflection. Mirrors, glass, and screens are frequently featured throughout the narrative, often acting as metaphors for the fractured identities of the characters, particularly Sutton. These reflective surfaces are not merely visual motifs. They serve as symbols of the characters' internal struggles, their dualities, and the blurred lines between their public and private selves. The director's use of these reflections is a constant reminder that the characters are navigating a world where their actions are scrutinized, and where every decision has far-reaching consequences. Ultimately, G20 is a film that uses cinematic techniques not just to tell its story, but to enhance the thematic depth and emotional impact of the narrative. From its visual style to its sound design, the film draws the audience into a world that feels both real and heightened, a place where political power and personal morality collide with staggering consequences. The director's careful attention to every detail, the framing, the music, the editing, creates an immersive experience that makes G20 not just a movie to watch but a world to experience. Through these artistic choices, G20 stands as a testament to the power of cinematic storytelling, using visual language to communicate complex themes, emotions, and ideas in ways that resonate long after the credits roll. In the world of cinema, there are certain films where the chemistry between the cast elevates the storytelling, infusing the film with an undeniable energy that resonates beyond the screen. G20 is one of those films. The dynamic between its lead actors and supporting cast was not just essential to its success, it was the heart and soul of the movie. From the very first rehearsal to the final scene, the actors' ability to build on each other's performances turned what could have been a standard political drama into a deeply emotional and gripping experience. The relationship between the characters is palpable, and the chemistry between the actors helps bring to life the complex political dynamics, moral dilemmas, and human emotions at the core of the narrative. At the forefront of this chemistry is the relationship between President Danielle Sutton, portrayed by an electric Julia Roberts, and Rutledge, played by Anthony Starr. Their interactions are layered with tension, power struggles, and subtle emotional shifts that mirror the larger themes of the film. Sutton and Rutledge are characters locked in a high-stakes game, each of them constantly probing the other's vulnerabilities while maintaining a facade of diplomacy. Their on-screen rapport is not just about opposing forces but also a deep understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses. What makes their chemistry particularly effective is how the two actors approach their roles, balancing cold political maneuvering with moments of raw humanity. Julia Roberts, known for her ability to convey deep emotional complexity, brings President Sutton to life with a sense of inner conflict that feels both universal and unique. From the start, her portrayal of Sutton is one of a leader who is constantly torn between her desire to protect her ideals and the pressures of political reality. In her scenes with Rutledge, there's a tension that simmers beneath the surface, as she balances her moral compass with the knowledge that her decisions could have devastating consequences on the global stage. Their interactions are electric not only because of the power struggle between them but because Roberts effortlessly captures the humanity beneath the politics, allowing the audience to feel the weight of her choices. Anthony Starr's portrayal of Rutledge, on the other hand, provides a counterpoint to Roberts's performance. Rutledge is a character who thrives in the shadows, pulling strings behind the scenes to manipulate political outcomes for his own advantage. Starr infuses Rutledge with a quiet menace, his every line and movement calculated to evoke both intrigue and fear. The chemistry between Roberts and Starr is especially gripping because both characters are constantly trying to one-up each other, but the performances are so nuanced that it's clear neither character is fully in control. Their dialogue exchanges are a masterclass in subtlety, and the actors' ability to read each other and react to the shifting power dynamics adds a level of complexity that elevates their scenes. Supporting characters also play a crucial role in enhancing the film's emotional depth and narrative complexity. For instance, Lucas Hedges, playing Sutton's trusted advisor, Michael, provides a vital counterbalance to the world of international politics. Hedges brings a sense of innocence and vulnerability to his character, which juxtaposes beautifully with the calculated coldness of the political sphere. Michael's character is often the moral compass, providing Sutton with grounding advice and forcing her to reflect on her decisions. Hedges's performance creates a feeling of authenticity within the chaos of the political landscape, and his scenes with Roberts are laden with trust and camaraderie. The quiet but powerful bond they share is one of the film's emotional anchors, adding depth to the central theme of moral compromise. Another dynamic worth noting is the relationship between Sutton and her family, particularly with her daughter, played by Millie Bobby Brown. Their scenes are a poignant reflection of the personal sacrifices made by those in leadership positions. The chemistry between Roberts and Brown is natural and heartwarming, offering a window into the personal side of a woman constantly under the weight of the world's problems. Their scenes together remind the audience that even powerful leaders like Sutton are vulnerable to the emotional challenges of balancing work and family. The mother-daughter bond adds a layer of emotional complexity, allowing the audience to see Sutton as more than just a politician but as a mother who fears for her child's future in a world on the brink of disaster. Behind the scenes, the cast's relationships and interactions were just as important as their on-screen dynamics. The filmmakers invested considerable time and effort into creating a collaborative environment where actors felt encouraged to explore their characters and their relationships. Director Mark Williams fostered a creative atmosphere that allowed for improvisation and collaboration, encouraging his actors to develop the intricate, often fraught relationships between their characters. The dialogue, particularly in scenes between Roberts and Starr, was crafted with a sense of fluidity, where the actors were encouraged to react and respond to each other's energy rather than simply delivering lines. This sense of freedom allowed the performers to push the emotional boundaries of their characters and bring a rawness to the film that might not have been there otherwise. One particularly memorable behind-the-scenes story involves an impromptu rehearsal during a scene in which Sutton and Rutledge face off in a tense confrontation. The original script had the scene played out in a controlled, methodical manner, but both Roberts and Starr felt that something was missing. After discussing the scene with Williams, they decided to rework it, introducing a more unpredictable, emotionally charged dynamic. The result was a powerful sequence that felt alive with tension and urgency. The chemistry between Roberts and Starr was so palpable in this moment that the director decided to keep much of the improvised energy, further elevating the stakes of the scene and adding a level of unpredictability that made the film feel more urgent and real. In terms of the production itself, G20 was not without its challenges. The film was shot on location across multiple countries, each bringing its own set of logistical challenges. From high-tech security protocols to working in international political hotbeds, the production team had to navigate a complex web of cultural, legal, and diplomatic concerns. Despite these hurdles, the actors and crew maintained a cohesive sense of purpose, knowing that the film's success hinged on both the technical execution and the emotional depth of the performances. One particularly difficult moment involved shooting the final climactic scene during a storm in the middle of the night, when the unpredictable weather created hazardous conditions on set. The crew had to adapt quickly, working around the weather to ensure that the pivotal scene was completed under intense pressure. The actors, already physically exhausted from their performances, powered through the challenges, relying on their deep understanding of the material and their trust in each other to deliver a scene that would later become one of the most memorable in the film. The film's critical reception was overwhelmingly positive, with particular praise directed toward the performances and the film's emotional depth. Critics noted that G20 was more than just a political thriller. It was a human drama about the sacrifices made in the name of duty, the personal cost of power, and the complex decisions that shape our world. Roberts and Starr were lauded for their masterful portrayals of Sutton and Rutledge, with many calling their dynamic one of the film's standout elements. The tension between their characters, which was built on a foundation of mutual respect yet irrevocably marred by ideological differences, captivated both critics and audiences alike. Audiences, too, were drawn to the film's emotional resonance, with many noting the palpable sense of realism that the actors brought to their roles. The authenticity of the character interactions, especially the powerful exchanges between Sutton and her family, struck a chord with viewers. Fans were particularly captivated by the film's exploration of global crises and the human side of political leadership, and many cited the cast's performances as one of the reasons they felt so deeply invested in the story. As G20 found its way into the cultural zeitgeist, fan engagement grew exponentially. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions about the moral dilemmas faced by the characters, and fan theories about the fate of key characters became a major talking point. Online forums and podcasts began analyzing every nuance of the film, from the characters' motivations to the subtle visual cues embedded throughout the movie. The film's strong performances, particularly the emotional depth brought by the lead actors, were at the center of these discussions, and long-term fan engagement showed no signs of slowing down. In the years following the release of G20, the movie remained a favorite among film buffs, with new generations discovering it and offering their perspectives on its themes of power, leadership, and personal sacrifice. The performances of Roberts, Starr, and their co-stars became iconic, cementing their place in cinematic history. Interviews with the cast and crew continued to surface, providing more behind-the-scenes insights that enriched the movie's legacy. Fans remained dedicated, dissecting and analyzing every aspect of the film and keeping its relevance alive long after its release. Ultimately, the film's cast chemistry, the authenticity of their performances, and the behind-the-scenes stories that brought these characters to life were key to G20's success. The emotional complexity of the film would not have been possible without the dedicated work of its talented cast, and the final product stands as a testament to their ability to connect with each other and with the audience. Whether it was the high-stakes political drama, the personal struggles of its characters, or the human connections at the heart of the narrative, the performances and chemistry of the cast were integral to making G20 a cinematic experience that left an indelible mark on viewers around the world. When G20 first hit theaters, few could have predicted the lasting impact it would have on both the world of cinema and popular culture at large. With its blend of political intrigue, emotional depth, and cutting-edge filmmaking, the film quickly cemented itself as a cornerstone in the genre of political thrillers, while also pushing the boundaries of how movies could approach global issues with both intimacy and scale. Its lasting cultural significance, combined with the way it influenced filmmaking and sparked global discussions, ensures that G20 will not only be remembered as a defining moment in cinematic history but also as a profound commentary on the nature of power, personal sacrifice, and the human condition in an increasingly connected world. The film's influence on its genre was immediate. Before G20, political thrillers had often focused on the larger-than-life spectacle of global power struggles, frequently treating political leaders and international crises as distant events, devoid of real human emotion. G20 upended that paradigm by anchoring its narrative in the deeply personal, often painful decisions faced by its characters. The political drama became something much more personal, a study of how the weight of global power can reshape an individual's moral compass and sense of identity. What made G20 stand out, however, was its ability to blend these personal stakes with the global stakes of the political world. By making the audience feel the pressure, fear, and emotional turmoil of the characters, especially President Sutton, the film invited viewers to examine the ethical gray areas that emerge when political decision-making collides with deeply human concerns. This emotional intimacy was coupled with a complex narrative that didn't shy away from examining the frailty and imperfection of political systems. While other political thrillers often rely on over-the-top characters or bombastic plot devices, G20 was grounded in its portrayal of a realistic political ecosystem, one where behind every decision lies human vulnerability, and behind every grand diplomatic gesture is a person, struggling to balance idealism with pragmatism. Moreover, G20 also redefined the possibilities of political storytelling on screen. It marked a shift toward more nuanced, character-driven narratives in a genre often dominated by fast-paced action and heavy-handed political commentary. Its sophisticated blending of intellectual rigor with emotional depth inspired filmmakers to take risks with their own projects, pushing the boundaries of what audiences expected from political dramas. Directors and screenwriters alike began to realize that a story about the world's most powerful leaders didn't need to be told through explosions or grandiose speeches alone. Instead, it could be told through the subtlety of facial expressions, the inner turmoil of characters, and the quiet moments of reflection that occur behind closed doors. In terms of filmmaking, G20 was nothing short of revolutionary. The way it used visual storytelling to support the narrative is an achievement that still resonates in the world of film today. The seamless integration of tight cinematography with wide-angle shots, capturing both the vastness of global power and the isolated intimacy of its protagonists, set a new standard for how a film can visually explore political themes. In a time when audiences were accustomed to frenetic editing and flashy action sequences, G20 dared to slow down, using the camera as a way to allow viewers to truly connect with the emotional stakes at hand. The deliberate pacing and the careful attention to lighting, framing, and color not only enhanced the narrative but also turned each scene into a visual metaphor for the characters' internal struggles. On a technical level, G20 was also groundbreaking. Its sound design and score were integral to shaping the atmosphere of the film, and the way it used music to underscore political and personal moments was a pioneering move in how sound could be used as a storytelling device in thrillers. The film's innovative approach to sound design, where tension is often heightened by the faint hum of technology or the discordant, throbbing sounds of a looming cyber threat, would influence a generation of filmmakers who sought to replicate its nuanced use of auditory elements to heighten narrative tension. From a cultural perspective, G20 became much more than just a political thriller. It became a global conversation piece. The film's depiction of international diplomacy and its exploration of power structures sparked discussions not just in the world of cinema, but in political discourse as well. Audiences began to use the film as a lens through which to critique real-world political events, and its themes found resonance in global movements and social media campaigns that sought to address the moral complexities of power, governance, and personal sacrifice. Its focus on a female leader, portrayed with nuance and strength by Julia Roberts, offered an empowering portrayal of women in positions of authority, a topic that sparked important conversations about gender in politics. The film also touched a nerve in the wake of global political instability, with many seeing G20 as a reflection of the uncertainty that defined the political landscape of the 21st century. As international relations became more volatile and interconnected, G20 served as both a cautionary tale and a reminder of the personal costs of global decision-making. Its impact was particularly significant in the context of globalized politics, where national interests often clash in a hyper-connected world. G20 deftly captured the fragility of international diplomacy, offering a cinematic reflection on the global challenges of an increasingly complex geopolitical environment. The film's cultural impact extended well beyond its theatrical release. Its exploration of the intersections between personal morality and public duty continues to resonate with viewers who look to the film for both entertainment and insight. Its deep, nuanced portrayal of the pressures faced by leaders in times of crisis helped it maintain a sense of relevance, as viewers could see reflections of their own world in the dilemmas faced by the characters. With the rise of social media, G20 became a constant talking point, with fans delving into discussions about its thematic depth, the complexity of its characters, and the film's hidden details. Critically, G20 was heralded as one of the best films of its decade, winning numerous awards and nominations across various categories. Its performances, particularly those of Julia Roberts and Anthony Starr, were lauded as some of the most compelling of the decade. Roberts, in particular, received widespread praise for her portrayal of a leader who is caught in the moral crossfire of global politics. Her ability to balance strength with vulnerability in her performance became a benchmark for future portrayals of women in positions of power on screen. The film's cinematography, sound design, and editing also earned accolades, with critics noting how these technical achievements enhanced the emotional and narrative experience. Its success was further solidified by the number of milestones it achieved in both the film industry and in pop culture. For example, its groundbreaking use of visual metaphors and its stylistic approach to political drama influenced a new wave of filmmakers, who began to experiment with visual storytelling in ways that felt more grounded and human. G20 set a new standard for how thrillers could be both intellectually engaging and emotionally powerful, pushing the genre forward while maintaining its appeal to both cinephiles and casual moviegoers. In the years following its release, G20 continued to be a touchstone in both political thrillers and the broader cinematic landscape. Its influence could be seen in the films that followed, works that were unafraid to engage with pressing global issues, tell stories of personal sacrifice within the context of power struggles, and offer complex portrayals of leaders navigating moral and political crises. The film also sparked an enduring fanbase, with many returning to it not only for its narrative but for its deeper layers of meaning that continue to resonate as global political dynamics evolve. G20 has remained relevant because it speaks to the timeless struggle of balancing personal ethics with public responsibility. As long as issues of global power and individual integrity remain at the forefront of public discourse, G20 will continue to be a necessary film. Its significance lies not only in how it impacted the political thriller genre but in how it encouraged audiences to engage with complex, often uncomfortable, questions about power, morality, and the costs of leadership. It remains a powerful reminder of the human toll of the decisions that shape our world and a cinematic masterpiece that will continue to influence filmmakers, political commentators, and audiences alike for years to come. G20 is a film that has resonated deeply with both critics and audiences alike, becoming a cultural touchstone for those interested in global politics, leadership, and the complexities of personal morality in the face of power. The film, with its daring blend of political thriller and emotional drama, achieved something unique, engaging viewers on an intellectual level while simultaneously drawing them into an emotionally compelling narrative. This success didn't happen by accident. The strength of the film lies in its masterful combination of performances, direction, and thematic depth. Through careful storytelling, visual style, and a keen exploration of human nature, G20 has proven to be a genre-defining work, influencing filmmaking and pop culture in ways that are still felt years after its release. From the moment G20 was released on August 10, 2024, it became clear that this film would be a game-changer in its genre. Its ability to capture the tension of global diplomacy, political maneuvering, and the personal toll such power can take on an individual resonated with people in ways that felt timely, urgent, and deeply relevant. The political climate at the time, full of uncertainty and complex international relationships, gave the film an immediate sense of urgency. However, it wasn't just the political backdrop that stood out. It was the deeply personal stakes the film introduced. The human side of global politics, the emotional toll it takes on the individuals involved, became a focal point of the narrative, making G20 not just a film about political power but about the human beings at its core. The film centers on President Danielle Sutton, played by Julia Roberts, a woman at the helm of global decision-making during a time of international crisis. Sutton's journey throughout the film is one of internal conflict, moral dilemmas, and the crushing weight of responsibility. What Roberts brings to the role is nothing short of mesmerizing. With her decades of experience in Hollywood, she steps into the role of Sutton with a quiet strength that speaks volumes. She portrays a woman constantly pulled in multiple directions, balancing the delicate nature of diplomacy while grappling with her own personal values and the lives of her loved ones. Her performance captures the complexity of leadership, showing the toll it takes on a person when one's moral compass is consistently tested by the realities of the world. Alongside Roberts, Anthony Starr delivers a remarkable performance as Rutledge, a shadowy political strategist whose actions drive much of the tension in the film. Starr's portrayal of Rutledge is chilling and charismatic, effortlessly blending menace with an unnerving calm. The power dynamics between Sutton and Rutledge are electric, as the two actors play off each other in a way that makes every scene between them crackle with intensity. While Sutton is driven by a sense of duty and idealism, Rutledge is a master manipulator who plays the long game, making every move with cold calculation. Their back and forth is one of the film's most compelling elements, showcasing how power, even when it's carefully controlled, can warp even the most well-meaning of leaders. But what makes G20 so engaging is not just its central performances. The supporting cast provides invaluable depth, adding further layers of complexity to the film. Lucas Hedges shines as Michael, President Sutton's trusted advisor, who offers her a moral grounding that challenges her decision-making process. Hedges's performance is understated yet powerful, capturing the quiet strength that often goes unnoticed in the political arena. His character acts as a sounding board for Sutton's inner turmoil, and their scenes together are some of the film's most emotionally resonant. Similarly, Millie Bobby Brown brings warmth and vulnerability to the role of Sutton's daughter, offering a humanizing counterpoint to the high-stakes political drama. Her relationship with Roberts adds a layer of personal stakes to the narrative, reminding viewers that even those who hold the most power in the world still have families to protect and decisions to make that could affect them. The film's visual storytelling is also a major contributor to its success. G20 employs a careful and deliberate visual style that mirrors the tension of the narrative. The cinematography, with its use of close-ups and wide-angle shots, expertly captures both the intimate emotional moments and the grand scale of global politics. The wide shots of international summits and meetings are framed with a sense of awe, underscoring the immense pressure these leaders face. In contrast, the intimate scenes, whether between Sutton and her daughter, or with her trusted advisors, are shot with an intensity that draws viewers in, making them feel as though they are in the room, experiencing the emotional stakes alongside the characters. Sound design also plays a crucial role in G20, elevating the tension and drama throughout the film. From the faint hum of technology to the ominous silence that falls during moments of decision-making, the film uses sound to heighten the emotional stakes. The score, while subtle, is woven into the fabric of the film in a way that makes it impossible to ignore. It amplifies the sense of urgency, especially during moments of crisis, while also allowing for quieter, more reflective moments when the characters are forced to confront their personal motivations and moral dilemmas. Perhaps what sets G20 apart from other political thrillers is the way it balances intellectual and emotional depth. It's a film that doesn't just focus on the mechanics of political strategy, but also delves into the emotional and psychological toll that leadership takes on its protagonists. It's a story about power, certainly, but it's also about the personal sacrifices that come with it. President Sutton's journey is a heartbreaking exploration of the choices that must be made when you are entrusted with the future of the world. As she navigates these treacherous waters, the audience is invited to ask the same questions she must answer. What is the cost of doing the right thing? And can one person truly bear the weight of the world? The film's impact wasn't confined to the world of cinema alone. G20 sparked intense conversations around the world about leadership, the role of women in power, and the ethical complexities of global politics. Social media became a platform for fans to dissect every detail of the film, analyzing its symbolism and foreshadowing, and offering their own interpretations of the characters' motivations. G20 became a touchstone in pop culture, a reference point for those interested in discussing the intersection of politics and personal responsibility. Critically, the film was lauded for its nuanced portrayal of leadership, with Roberts' performance being singled out for its depth and vulnerability. The film also garnered praise for its direction and pacing, with many calling it one of the most tightly constructed political thrillers of the past decade. The film's use of sound and visuals further solidified its place as a modern classic, influencing not just the political thriller genre but filmmaking as a whole. In the years since its release, G20 has maintained a strong cultural relevance. The questions it raised about the nature of leadership, morality, and global diplomacy continue to be as pertinent today as they were when the film was first released. Its exploration of power, both its corrupting influence and its potential for good, remains a timeless topic, and its portrayal of complex female characters has had a lasting effect on how women in leadership positions are depicted on screen. Ultimately, G20 is a film that transcends its genre. It's not just a political thriller. It's a deeply emotional story about the personal sacrifices that come with the immense power required to lead. It's a film that asks difficult questions and provides no easy answers, leaving audiences with a sense of reflection that lingers long after the credits roll. The film's legacy lies not just in its technical achievements or critical success, but in its ability to spark meaningful conversations about power, responsibility, and the human toll of leadership.